What's up, everybody? Unrested here. I am back again with another JFAQ, and today answering a question from a viewer named Mega Gamer. I think it's a little bit longer name than Mega Gamer, but I can't remember the rest. So Mega Gamer, I'm sorry, but I'm sure you know who I'm talking to. His question was about crime in Japan, such as, is there muggings? Do people get robbed? Do people get beat up, raped, etc.? Common street crimes. How often do they occur in Japan? Is it something we should be worried about when we visit Japan or live in Japan? And right off the bat, making a very general sweeping statement, I would say no. It is not something you really need to worry about. In comparison to many countries around the world, Japan is by far one of the safest countries in the world. And that is not me exaggerating or just being a Japan apologist or loving Japan too much. Japan is very safe. Far safer than my own country, America. And even in bad parts of Japan, where you would consider it ghetto or dangerous, by Japanese standards, that is, us as Americans would definitely say it's pretty safe still. Now, of course, there are problems with police corruption. For example, just this last year, 2014, it was found out, I forget which newspaper released the information, but it was found out that the Osaka police force, Osaka's where I live in case you don't know, had swept under the rug over 40,000 police reports over the past 10 years. They had just never filed them. So people would come in, they'd fill out the paperwork, they'd turn in whatever had happened, and they would just, like, I guess, throw it in a trash bin or keep it in some file storage that never actually got entered into a computer database. So, you know, police corruption. Also, there's a little bit of racism from police here. It is something I have experienced. It's something that I am sad to say many black gaijin or kakujin experience far more than us as white gaijin, and it's in completely ignorant racism. I'm not gonna try and paint it as anything but that, because that's what it is. And I myself, even being a white guy here in Japan, have this occur as well, especially being a tattooed white guy. I have been stopped many a time. I've had my bag searched. I've had it been questioned if I own the bike I ride. The good thing, I guess, is that you can state your mind to a cop here without the chance of getting a beat down or arrested like you might in America. If I want to talk back to the cops, and I do talk back to the cops because it is completely ignorant and racist to stop me and have to look through my bag with absolutely, no cause for doing so. They are allowed to ask me for my gaijin card, which is totally okay. They can ask to look for that anytime. It's actually, stated when you come here by law that you should be walking around with your gaijin card. Does that make you feel like a second-class citizen? Yes, sometimes. But it's something you go ahead and agree to when you get a visa and come here. That being said, as for safety in Japan, which I've kind of gotten off topic from talking about all these tangents on my own personal rights, it is a very safe country. I'm going to go by my own experiences as far as what I've experienced with either friends telling me what types of dangers they've faced. The most I've ever heard of is people who've visited Roppongi. Now, Roppongi is not in Osaka, that is in Tokyo. You may want to just look it up online. It is pretty much the equivalent to Amemura or Amerikamura in here in Osaka. It's a very club and bar heavy area for happening youth to go party it up in. So it also lends itself to a bit of danger as well. It has problems where people go through a sort of scam, I guess you would call it a scam, in which you go to a bar and they put the equivalent to roofies in your drink. Now, I'm not saying it is actually roofies, it's just like a chemical mix that is the equivalent thereof. And that mix will eventually knock you out after one or two drinks. They'll then try to take credit card, or I guess all the money in your wallet if you're not carrying a credit card, which I highly recommend not carrying a credit card in Japan. There's no reason to. You should try to carry cash as much as possible. And I've heard different things like they'll either max it out at the bar and you'll go home with a receipt that has nondescript items on it or just numbers on it. I've heard of other thing where one friend told me about how a friend of his who got drugged at one of these bars was not only taken for his credit card as far as just maxing it out at the bar, but they like had him in some sort of like woozy state, I guess almost like a zombie-like state, and took him over to places that sold jewelry and stuff and made him buy all this expensive jewelry and shit in the middle of the night, which is very possible. Some of these stores open all night because they know people can get away with this scam. And this is mostly just in Roppongi. I've never heard of this happening in Osaka. That doesn't say it doesn't happen. I did have one friend who was a girl in Osaka have the equivalent to roofies in her drink. And I knew she was a strong drinker. She could really drink probably easily any man I knew under the table. And after only 2 drinks, she was busted. She was just gone. And her friend was luckily with her and took good care of her and got her home all right. But she was like throwing up and, like throwing up like blood, because I guess whatever this was in her system, that was just like, really strong sort of chemical compound that was the equivalent to roofies was messing with her really bad. And, after 2 drinks, if you're throwing up blood, definitely somebody's done something to your drink, even if you're the lightest drinker on earth. And she said she definitely felt like she had been drugged. She thinks she knew who did it at the bar. But again, this was in a bar clubbing type area, which it already is. I mean, you got to expect a little bit of sketchiness out there. Just to be safe, you have to expect a little bit. I'm not saying it should happen. I'm not promoting crime. And that being said, I mean, those are some of the biggest stories I've heard. I had one, I guess, what would I say, fellow employee I worked with who was in a bathroom stall one day, and a man came up behind him and held a knife to his back and asked for his money. I had a friend who is a J-vlogger. I don't know if he wants me to release the exact information of what happened, so I won't tell his name, but he was held at knife point at an ATM. But again, this was in Roppongi, and they took a lot of money from him. I don't even want to allude to how much, but it was a lot, and it was not cool. Luckily, he had insurance and got his money back. You can get travel insurance and get your money back, so he was okay. But a very scary situation for him. Both of those people reported that they felt very nervous about having their backs turned to people after that. I remember them both saying that. Moving on from there, these are very uncommon situations, though. I want you to realize that, especially if you're living in the countryside, you could literally leave your door unlocked and be okay in Japan. Like, there's many people who still leave their door unlocked. So, in general, Japan's a very, very safe country. Nonetheless, I don't feel like I should paint a totally serene picture. I should let you know the realistic part as well. I'm not going to paint it as a crime-free country, because it's not that. Also, I want women to know that police in Japan tend to not take sexual assault or rape cases very serious. There is a lot of controversy over that. They don't take it as serious as they should. They don't handle it the right way most times. There's a very famous case of a woman who was raped in Japan, and she was a gaijin, and because she was a gaijin, the police handled it extremely poorly. I can't recall the name of the book that she wrote right now, but when you read it and find out how badly they treated her during this and how poorly they handled the case, and doing things like immediately after she was raped, taking her back to the place that she was raped to try and find the guy who raped her. And, obviously, totally a traumatic thing to do to a victim right after that having happened. I mean, why would you do that? If that's part of their police protocol, then they need to fucking rewrite the police protocol, because it's retarded. I mean, I'm not a police officer, and I understand that that's totally stupid. That being said, though, be just as careful as you would in any other country. Not just women, but men too. Be careful, hold on to your wallet in the right way. Don't expect just because a country has a great reputation for not being heavily crime-ridden that you should just be lax on your own personal safety. Keep your eyes open. You know, I have heard about a few wallets stolen here and there. I definitely have seen a bajillion bikes stolen in Osaka. Oh, by the way, yeah, Osaka's notorious for people getting their bikes stolen. Umbrellas stolen, but if you really get up in arms over having your umbrella stolen, then you might be a bit of a tight pocket. So, but yeah, that's just a few of my own experiences, a little bit about what you may experience as far as crime in Japan. As far as violent assaults or people, I guess, violently assaulting you in Japan, that is super rare. Getting mugged for your money, beat up and your money taken, super rare. I have no case, I guess, unless I guess you would consider being held at knife point mugging, which I guess it could be. But I always thought mugging meant like you beat the person up and take it. You strong arm them. I've never heard of anyone getting a good beat down or being assaulted by a gang or, you know, there's no like Yakuza roaming the street threatening you with a gun. Guns are super rare in Japan. You almost never hear about gun crime in Japan because it's very hard to have a gun in Japan. At most you can get a shotgun for hunting purposes, and even then you need tons of approval. It's usually only in the countryside, and it's usually only to protect them from bears like in Hokkaido. There is a way to get pistols in Japan, but I think it's something like you have to have a shotgun for 12 years, and then if you have a clean criminal record for 12 years after owning a shotgun, then you can apply for getting a pistol. So, I mean, your chances of someone having a pistol here is either, you know, very rare or very, very illegal. So that's just a little bit. I hope I covered enough of what you were hoping to hear about with crime. I guess I could split this off into another JFAQ of just my own experiences with the police. I've had a few just because I am a tattooed gaijin in Japan, and of course, probably my piercings don't help either. I'm not gonna, you know, try and pretend like everybody should, you know, not judge a book by its cover because it happens no matter where you live in the world. But that tends to happen to me. I get judged right away. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I hope that answered your crime questions in Japan. Until next time, I am Unrested. This is JFAQ. Please like, comment, and subscribe.